This video is sponsored by Manscaped. Is it early? Hell yeah, it's early. Is it way too premature to start projecting these players who are going to be drafted in June of 2022? Hell yes. But when we're talking about the guys at the top of the NHL draft, I think it bears exception that we can have this opportunity to start discussing the names who are going to change the franchises that tank or just plain up suck this year. Let's talk today about the 2022 NHL Entry Draft and get the very first video in there for Why I Want, the series where we talk about upcoming prospects, go over their strengths, go over their comparisons, go over their numbers, and just how I project them into the future. So, last season, I was actually super upset that we only did as many episodes as we did with a few months to go before the draft, which is kind of why we went turbo mode and we made videos every other day talking about prospects starting around, I think it was April or whatever it was. So this time around, I'm going to try to make things a little bit smoother by not spamming your videos every other day with new prospect reports. We're going to try to spread them out throughout the year so it's a lot more consistent and a lot more even. And where better to start for this year's 2022 NHL Entry Draft than the projected first overall pick, Shane Wright. So, who is Shane Wright? Let's go over his profile, his numbers, and what exactly makes him a good player, and somebody whose name you should be familiar with. Shane Wright is 17 years old. January 5th, 2004 is the birth date. He is 6'1", 187 as a right-handed center from Burlington, Ontario. You might have known this guy's name from a few years ago because he actually made his OHL debut in 2019-20. Now, if you've been paying attention, okay, 2019-20 was 2 seasons ago. Shane Wright is 17 now. He's turning 18 in the new year. That means that he made his OHL debut when he was 15 years old. Yup, that's exactly the case, because Shane Wright is one of the only CHL athletes in the history of that league to being given exceptional status, which gives him the right to suit up in this league a year before normal 16-year-olds would be allowed. He joins an elusive list including the likes of Connor McDavid, John Tavares. You have the other guys in the other leagues, so Connor Bedard in the WHL and Joe Veleno in the QMJHL, not to mention Sean Day as well. But McDavid, Tavares, Aaron Ekblad too, these guys kind of solidified that status as to how good these players are supposed to be. Despite suiting up in the OHL as a 15-year-old, Shane Wright put his name on the map, playing for the Kingston Frontenacs, where he had himself a rookie season for the ages. 58 games played, 39 goals, and 66 total points, as a 15 turning 16-year-old. In fact, if you go back to the last exceptional OHL status player to have been given that title, Connor McDavid in his 15 turning 16-year-old year had himself 66 points, in 63 games played, and 25 goals too. So Shane Wright came out here with the same point production to Connor McDavid, albeit he had fewer games and he had way more goals in the same age range. How was he able to do that? Well, there's a reason Kingston was able to get this guy first overall, and there's a reason why he was given exceptional status. Heading into the OHL draft and the OHL season in general, playing for the Don Mills Flyers U16 AAA club in the Greater Toronto Hockey League, Shane Wright was making his name known as an absolute sniper. You can see the numbers right here in his previous seasons. For the Don Mills Flyers, he had himself 72 games played and 66 freaking goals as a 14-year-old playing in a U16 program. You take a look at what exactly made him great. It was his overall goal-scoring ability that he had that translated everywhere out there onto the ice. His off-puck awareness was so good that he was always in the right place at the right time to get those pucks, and his shooting form was so elegant with lots of flex and precision that he could score a variety of goals. One-timers, load-up wrist shots, on-the-rush snapshots, even tip goals. Even when he doesn't have all of his body weight shifted onto one side with one foot on the ice, he can still whip it on goal with 2 feet at high velocity. I don't know if I'm really selling the fact that his shot is so gosh darn good that whenever you would see this guy in the offensive zone, he could just rip it from anywhere. Up high, in tight, far out, boards, circle, slot, etc. If there's a lane, he can find it. He's a really confident puck handler, great at creating space and body positioning when facing backcheckers as well, very strong on his feet, and when he really wants to get going, he can just go like a horse. He picks up the puck, and when he has that gear turning in his head, he's just like, okay, I'm gonna go and score, and you're gonna get out of my way because I'm gonna do that. All these qualities made him a projected first overall OHL pick, and immediately in the OHL, he showed off all those same traits as his career went on. Now, before we head over onto how exactly he has played recently and where he projects into the future, big word from our sponsor of today's video. Brace yourselves, winter is coming. What the writers of Game of Thrones didn't tell you is that Bran was actually in a wheelchair because he didn't trim his undergarments with Manscaped. Not sure what you want as a gift for the holidays? Well, Manscaped is the ultimate gift changing the men's grooming game, and you can get 20% off and free shipping if you use the code LEGOROCKS at manscaped.com. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 includes the Lawnmower 4.0, Weed Whacker, Boxers, Travel Kit, and Liquid formulations. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is waterproof with advanced skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts, and even has a light to help with your close shave down there. The Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer can help you with those nasty weeds near delicate holes. The Performance Package also includes the Crop Preserver deodorant and the Crop Reviver toner. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LEGOROCKS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped. It's time to join the movement. These products are no joke. Join millions of men worldwide today and get yourself Manscaped. So once Shane Wright broke into the OHL, he did a number of things. We already said that he already bested Connor McDavid's point production as a 15 turning 16-year-old in fewer games with more goals. He also broke Bernie Nicholls' Kingston rookie goal record, which was set back in 1979-1980, a record that stood for like 40 years or whatever it was. Shane Wright, in the next season's worth of play though, was not able to do all too much to really bring up those numbers and to really best out Connor McDavid in year 2, because due to the pandemic, the OHL didn't actually play. The only exposure of hockey that Shane Wright got that was actually recorded was the U18s for Team Canada earlier this year. There, playing as the captain of the squad, he went absolutely haywire on the entire tournament. He was injured for a while, so he only played 5 games compared to everybody else's 7, but in those 5 games, he scored himself 9 gosh darn goals, 5 assists for 14 total points. He led the tournament in points per game, and even though you had yourselves guys like Connor Bedard and Mason McTavish and Francesco Pinelli also producing too, every time Shane Wright had the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, there was a very dangerous, looming scoring threat, because he had this ability to just shoot it from anywhere and it would go in. He would take the right shots, it would go through everybody, and it would just find its way to the back of the net. Sure, Connor Bedard kind of dominated the game with his speed in a way that's somewhat akin to Connor McDavid, but Shane Wright and the way that he has been projecting so far, based off of everything we have seen, he's projected first overall by everybody. Future considerations, Bob McKenzie, Craig Button, Sportsnet Recruit, Dauber, Draft Prospects, Smart Scouting, they all have him at number 1. And if you want to take a look at the closest comparables, the one that comes to my mind, honestly, if he pans out the way that we think he should be able to, is like a hybrid of that Steven Stamkos, Austin Matthews kind of style, where he can just score and score and score and score and score pretty much from everywhere, and he's got a crazy good work ethic and skill set to complement those scoring abilities. That this guy is one of the scariest players to come into the NHL draft in a long time. Now, this season, he actually has gotten off to a little bit of a slower start. He's had 12 games at the time of recording this audio, 16 total points, 6 goals, 10 assists. He actually did take a while to get going. He kicked off the season with a 3-point game against the Ottawa 67s, but since then, he had himself a few pointless games here and there. Now he is on a little bit more of a streak, but there still have been some people, especially in Kingston that I've seen, that have been highlighting the plays of guys other than Shane Wright, like Martin Chromiak, for example. Other players who have indeed stepped up to the plate and shown off their value more so than Wright has at the beginning of this early season. But for Shane Wright, as he starts to find his groove a lot more, and he starts to ease into the season, he took an entire year off, everybody did, in the OHL. I'm going to give a lot more leeway to Shane Wright in his performance this year, mostly because we all know just how good he is when he is at his best, and he's got an entire rest of the season to prove that that best still exists, and that it's taken another step forward. So, for Shane Wright, the consensus, and it's not even close, projected first overall pick at the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. How good is this guy? I think he honestly has that Rocket Richard winning potential because he is such a good goal scorer, and everything else in his game is definitely good enough to the point that you can justify taking him first overall, but the talent that makes him him, and that makes him unique, boy oh boy. He is arguably the most dynamic goal-scoring forward we have seen in these drafts since the freaking Austin Matthewses in 2016, and maybe you could say anybody else, okay, Caulfield, Kaliev, Alexander Holtz, nah, Wright blows them all out of the water. Maybe not Matthews, but the other guys for sure. So, talk to me in the comments what do you think about Shane Wright and his projected profile over here. If your NHL team, the one that you cheer for, is not doing all too well, would you want to go out there and tank for a Shane Wright? I know for me personally, as a Vancouver Canucks fan, we don't need to tank. We suck anyways, so we're probably gonna get 4th overall again because that's how it always works out. Yeah, it's kind of whack, isn't it? I know that's not how the format works anymore, I'm joking, but either way, talk to me in the comments what do you think about the very first Why I Want video of this season. Let me know in the comments, who do you want to see next in the Why I Want series for 2022. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.